407. Project Cost Management. Looking at the table below, what is the program function point value? Here, the correction coefficient of complexity is 0.75. So we want to work out what is the function point value. Now you may be asking, what on earth is the function point value? Well, we'll be discussing this in the next slide. Just remember that the correction coefficient of complexity is 0.75. We have the table, user function type, and we have all the different types of function. So we have the external input, external output, internal logic file, external interface file, and external inquiry. And we have the number of those and the weighted coefficients. The options we have are option A, 18, option B, 24, option C, 30, or option D, 32. So now let us define what a function point value is. Function points allow us to, based on a number of functions, work out the amount of business functionality provides to a user. That is, function points measure the software size when building a software. So we're talking about the software size and the business functionality is to the user. Firstly, the function would be divided into the following 5 broad categories based on their functions. Namely, firstly we have the external input, the external output, we have the internal logic file, the external interface file, and finally we have the external inquiries. Each of the functions in each group would then be counted. Next, each of the functions would be weighted against each other based on the past results. So the functions are weighed. The functions, each of them, they are weighed against each other to find out the weighted coefficients of each category. For each category, the function numbers would then be multiplied with the weighted coefficient, and all the results would be added together. This added result will be multiplied with the correction coefficient. We found in the last slide that in this scenario we're going to have a correction coefficient of 0.75. So the summed result, the number that is added from before, will be multiplied by the correction coefficient of complexity to estimate the function point of the program. And let's see how we can apply this to the situation that we find ourselves in. So, looking at our example, let's have a look at our table. First of all, we see that the external input has 3 and the weighted coefficient is 4. So, as we saw before, we can weigh it with the coefficient, so that becomes 3 times 4. So we do 3 times 4, and that gives us 12. 1 times 5, of course, gives us 5. And we do the same for all of the columns. And of course, if we have none, then we don't need to bother. I'll put this in just in case. And if we sum this up, so if I draw a line, and if we make a total, then the sum is 12 plus 5 plus 5, which is 22, plus 10, which is 32. So the sum total gives us 32. If you've seen the answers, you might be tempted to then say, answer D, but it's not, because we are given that the correction coefficient of complexity is 0.75, so we're not quite finished. We need to then multiply 32 by the correction coefficient, which is 0.75, so we must do 32 times 0.75, which is of course 3/4 of 32, which we know gives us 24, and that is our answer. And we have the option 24, so the answer is B, 24. The program function point value is 24.